All right, what's good, everybody? I'm Blitz5, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking more about PUBG, and two things that I'm talking about specifically today are asset flipping, which I'll explain in a second here because I wasn't really quite sure what that meant when I first read it or in what context. So we got asset flipping and the player base for PUBG. So because this one's shorter, I'm going to start with the player base, and the simple fact here is that the player base is actually declining a lot, and it's at an alarming rate, and this is the truth. So the only data we have here publicly available is through Steam because they released this information, and I'm looking at a website called steamcharts.com here, and I don't have any reason to believe that this is false information. It seems like it's pretty accurate, and I matched up some of the data with what PUBG had said in the past. They admitted that in December they had just hit 3 million peak players, and this data follows up with that. So if we look here, back in December 2017, January 2018, this is when the game peaked with I guess we could just say 3.2 million players in January 2018. And then the average player also peaked in January 2018 at almost 1.6 million. Okay. So then they had some huge increases. You can see when the game really blew up. Well, in April, the numbers are just really high percentage wise, but then the game went through a large period of growth from July to October. Then it kind of steadied out, and then it's been red basically for the rest of 2018. And in May, we had a huge drop off in players, which is very concerning to me. And I wish we could see the Xbox numbers for this. So what the point of this is just saying that I had heard this on Reddit. People saying this, I'd read this, and I get it. The game has been struggling. There's been a lot of issues with performance and patches and all this stuff. But to see these numbers like this and then for it to go under the average players, under 1 million again, is super unfortunate and really bad for PUBG. And I think that the fact that the cycle of, at least in the US, and in Europe, we're heading into summer here, and I feel like a lot of games kind of dip down in the summer, and then the most popular time from gaming is like from September to March. I feel like that's the most popular time in gaming when most of the games are coming out and people are playing a lot more, but that doesn't account for worldwide numbers, and also doesn't account for this kind of drop off over time, because I'm sure you wouldn't see this with a game like Fortnite. But I actually think that game, side note, is kind of having some player drop off right now. But anyways, this is just not good. So let's move on from this. So second, we have asset flipping. So what is that? What's going on? Assets are like a company's assets are things that they own and are valuable to them. And then I'm like, flipping, what are they flipping? It's not really the case here. So let me start from the very, very beginning. So during E3, which was just last week, Greene, who is Playerunknown, he is the person with the moniker Playerunknown, his name is Greene in real life, was at E3, and he was responding, or he was admitting to reading people saying that PUBG is an asset flip. And what he's saying here, what people are referring to, is the fact that when you build a video game and you have access to like a developer kit, you need to run off an engine or to make your own engine, but most people just rent an engine and build the game from there. So in this case, PUBG, like many games and Fortnite and all that stuff, use the Unreal Engine. This is one of the most popular engines to be used. I'm not a developer. I've never done any of this stuff. I just know this from playing a lot of video games, so I'm not going to act like I'm some kind of professional on this matter or that I have a better opinion than anybody else. I just know that the Unreal Engine is very, very common. So they use this engine, and I guess when they have the developer kit, they have access to, I'm going to make an analogy here, when you're using like Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Word or whatever, they have access to almost like clip art, right? When you're using my PowerPoint, you can go in, clip art, like free images, and just put them right into your PowerPoint and like use that, right? They're just average things that people have already created, and they're basic. Sometimes there's free ones, sometimes you have to pay for them. And it seems like in this developer version of the Unreal Engine, that's already available. So if you want to go ahead and build your own grenade or build your own gun model or build your own vehicle, you can do that. Or you can go into the store, and they have different options here where you can use a grenade made by a different artist and just copy and paste that into the game. So it turns out that PUBG, whether you want to believe it or not, or you're on either side here, because you're going to have to pick a side. Well, you don't have to pick a side, but there's basically PUBG versus the angry community, is that PUBG did do this, okay? And then reading into this, they actually did this a lot. So they did this with like the first aid kits, the grenades, the player models, a lot of the outfits, even some of the buildings and all this stuff. They bought this stuff from the PUBG store, from the Unreal Engine store, to quickly make the game. So in this video, Brendan Greene is responding to that saying, yes, hey, we did do this at some points, but he's saying we have so many artists and so many people working on this game that seeing these comments makes me want to like kill those people. That's not exactly what he said, but he did say he makes me want to kill them or kill you. And that saying that was kind of crazy, even though it wasn't directed at a single person or a username. Saying that when you're a person in the media spotlight, he's like a pseudo famous person, right, for making this game. Not a good look, and you can't be saying that stuff, especially at an E3 conference. A little awkward, but to me, I'm not gonna get all like offended that he said that, because I just think that he misspoke in a public setting. But I don't think the guy's a murderer, so let's calm down about that. But what's crazy here is that we have to kind of decipher what's going on with this game. So their defense is that, and to me, I believe this, is that the game was made in a short amount of time, right? And when you're making a game, they're kind of from an independent studio kind of background, there's no real, they're not backed by like Activision. There's no proof that this is going to work. It's not Call of Duty 10 where people know it's going to work. It's a random game, PUBG, coming into the market, right? So because they're like a startup company, you're going to want to save costs. So for example, if you have to make a grenade in this game, you could have one of your developers spend their whole day coding the grenade, designing it, getting the artwork, testing it, all of that stuff. Or you could save all of that time and just buy it from a store immediately. And what I saw people kind of make an analogy to this is if you're kind of putting a chair in the game, right? PUBG is not about sitting in a chair. It's just part of the decorations of the game. Then why would you spend days making a chair and then putting it into the game, making sure that it works right, you can walk around it, and then making different versions of that chair so they don't all look the same? Why would you spend all your time doing that? If the store has 4 different versions of chairs, you could just click on all 4. They're in your game and you place them and you save all the time, because that's not what the game is about. It's about the shooting aspect of the game, the realism, the sounds, the way the guns look, and the combat. First and foremost, it's probably about combat first, and then the realism and all that stuff after that. But so if those things are copied, then we kind of have more of an issue, because then they're just copying the game. But then we have, I think I was talking about this in a separate video, then we have this thought about, if the whole game is copied, let's say, let's take another step back, and let's say they copied the whole entire game from the Unreal store. Everybody else had the same opportunity to do that, and they didn't create PUBG. So to me, I honestly wouldn't be that mad. I would just be mad that they lied and tried to say it like that. They could have just said, hey, we built this game from the ground up. We didn't build this game from the ground up. We bought it from the store up, and here it is. We just put it together, and it's awesome. Then people probably wouldn't care. Or maybe they would. I don't know. I personally wouldn't. Because to me, it's kind of like hating on Starbucks for serving coffee that everybody has access to. Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and all these companies, Tim Hortons, are successful, but they're not doing anything really different. They're just branding the product and they're making it work in some effective or efficient way, right? And all those companies have their issues. It's the same with PUBG. It's not like it's some crazy thing that nobody's ever heard of before, a first-person / third-person battle royale shooter. So to me, that's where I kind of side with PUBG, but then people on Reddit have some good arguments where they're saying here that we get that the game is rushed. It's obvious because so many things are wrong and broken in the game, and then because they rush the game and they're not really giving them benefit of the doubt, they're just saying, and they're kind of saying that they don't really trust PUBG, right? Because they're obviously just out there to make money. So in their minds, or in some people's minds, people feel like the game was just a money grab, so they copy and pasted things quickly. Now that the game is successful, they're trying to fix it and make even more money on their success and keep it growing. Now they're like panicking, and because they took all these shortcuts to begin with, they're having a hard time fixing it, and it's actually causing them more problems. And some people think that they deserve the problems because they took all these shortcuts, and that the game should fail, and that it's destined to fail. So I think what we have to realize here, or think about here, is, was it okay for PUBG to do this? And in my opinion, I think it is, because there's just no proof that this game was going to be successful. And as sort of like a startup video game, I feel like they did the right thing by doing this and saving the money over time. And I'm still kind of on board with the fact that PUBG is updating the game. The proof is kind of in the pudding. Even though they haven't worked, they've been throwing out a lot of updates recently. So I'm still kind of on the train here, the PUBG train. But a lot of people feel like the PUBG communications and people at the company have just been saying the same thing over and over again, that they're doing more stuff, they're working on it, but then they're coming out with a new winter map, and they haven't even fixed Miramar and Erangel, the first map, Erangel. So it's a very tough topic here because it's going back and forth on many different issues, and I definitely see Reddit's point of view there, or the people that are frustrated in the community that, you know, they keep talking a big game that they're going to fix the game, but then they go on and they're doing other things and they're not really focusing on the big issues here and all the issues on Xbox. People, this thread was posted on the regular PUBG Reddit, so just for PC. This isn't even considering all the issues on Xbox. The game barely works on that. So to me, I definitely feel them there, but I definitely also don't consider it maybe like an asset flip. I guess maybe if you want to call it that, that's fine, but is that an issue? I just don't think it is. So I think that's kind of like fake news, being mad that it's an asset flip. I think if you enjoy the game, you play it and have fun. I think the real thing here is, what are they going to be doing with the game? And that's what everybody is concerned about. And that's where we have a legitimate concern, because the player base is declining, and what's going to happen to PUBG. And I keep saying this in all my videos, but by the fall, a lot of people are saying this too. I'm not the only person with this thought, but by the fall, we're really going to have an idea of what games are going to make it. And I feel like in 2019, there's going to be a completely different landscape. It's kind of a race to 2019, and then we'll see kind of who survives, right? Like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield, PUBG, all these games. Going to be crazy. I keep calling it the hashtag fight for the fall, so we'll use that hashtag here. So anyways, that's what's going on. Player base declining. People are accusing the game of asset flipping, and PUBG is on the defense. And despite all that stuff, I think I understand where they're coming from, and I hope that they stick to their word and keep improving this game and prove people wrong, and that PUBG is successful. So anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. As always, I'm Blitz5, and peace out.